Hey, how's it going everyone? This is the Anime Man. When we come across all sorts of different anime, we usually tend to come across some more unique types. Some of them are just a little bit unique, some of them are kind of cliche, and then there are some which are really quite difficult for someone to understand who especially isn't used to the wacky otaku and Japanese cultured world of anime. Or at least that was the case with this one particular motherfucker who emailed me about a certain anime series that actually just recently finished airing as of the airing of this video. So I was watching Made in Abyss, and at one point Diko was half naked, only pants and no t-shirt, and exactly at that moment my mum decided to visit my room and I had to explain that this is not porn. But what actually is the line between porn and non-porn? Like, how can we be okay showing kid nipples but then teenage ones? No. Where do we draw the line? And what about flatties? If showing nipples for like teenagers and older is not okay, then what is the difference between a flatty and a kid? I'd love to see you make a video on how censoring works in this scenario. First of all, I'd just like to say, regardless of the grammatical errors, thank you for the great question. Now that I am covering it for you in a video, I'm sure as shit gonna get this thing demonetized. Thanks, YouTube. But I mean, this is already an issue that we've discussed in a different video, and then honestly, I don't even care at this point. I still want to cover this particular question or topic that was posed because it's something that I think is genuinely interesting and I think is worth discussing with, since no one else really seems to want to talk about it in a public space like this because of its tabooness. And also because I don't know, enjoy exploring the pornographic and supposedly non-pornographic aspects of anime culture. Before we tackle into the logistics of what makes a particular anime scene adult and non-adult, we should probably do a quick rundown of the example anime given in this email. Made in Abyss follows Diko, a child explorer who mines within the abyss, a giant hole that suddenly appeared in the world. Within this world, certain children are put into this orphanage or mining school to help uncover secret relics from within this abyss. Now, I haven't exactly caught up all the way with this anime yet, but I freaking love it so far. Honestly, don't let the art style fool you. This is actually a fantastic seinen adventure anime that just puts a smile on my face every time I see these fucking adorable characters doing their thing. I'm just saying, man, Kiwi is like one of the most adorable fucking things in anime since the introduction of Kanna and Momo this year, and I need one in my life. You can take that in any way you want. Now, upon viewing the first couple of minutes of the first episode, you can hear Diko saying this. Then in episode 2, you're treated to this image, which stirred up a little bit of controversy within the anime community. And finally in episode 5, that was later reinforced by making a few members of the anime community kind of scratch their morality minds as they viewed Diko supposedly with her arms out with no shirt on. Now there might be some of you watching this video who are like, Jesus Christ, Joey, put those images away. That is a little naked anime girl you are showing on YouTube, uncensored, you disgusting fucking weird. Now yes, according to the anime, this character, Diko, who is the main character of Made in Abyss, is 12 years old. Since it's made evident during the 10-year anniversary festival of Liza that she was 2 years old when her mother made the last dive into the abyss. So yes, she is, without a doubt, still a child. And she is, without a doubt, but naked. I mean, look at this picture again closely. This clearly shows Diko, a child character who is 12 years old, being strung up naked without any censoring. Granted, you can't see any of the actual naughty bits because of some clever physical censoring done by her hair. Well, there is a reason why I myself didn't exactly censor these two images and just showed them as it is on the grander scale of YouTube, who really seems to be this fucking Puritan when it comes to any kind of cartoon pornography. Because if this video truly gets demonetized or even flagged because of the blatant sexuality that I'm showing through these supposedly sexual screenshots of Made in Abyss, then that is going to exactly prove the point that I want to make in this video. This is just my opinion, but I personally do not think that just because there is a child anime character without a shirt on and supposedly naked, that you need to censor it on television. I will even argue that by censoring images like this, it is actually making the show even more perverted than what you already think. Before you label me as some sort of pedo, let's examine this even further. There are a few factors which I think makes Made in Abyss a quote-unquote non-censor friendly anime. For one thing, it is categorized as a seinen anime, meaning that even though, much like in this email, there are actually a lot of parents who watch this with their child or younger siblings who watch this with their older brother or sister, this show is actually more suited towards an older demographic. But Joey, there are a lot of seinen anime that are censored like crazy! You might be typing in the comments right now, and you're right. Some of the most famous seinen anime that have little child characters like No Game No Life with Shiro and the Monogatari series with Shinobu do show these characters with their TV airing having some sort of unnatural censor, most of the time being little bits of fog since they are in a bath scene. It's not exactly a blasting ray of light or a unnatural shadow that appears from nowhere, but it is still considered censoring. But the other huge point I want to express in this video is that context matters. Child anime characters like Shiro and Shinobu are not only put into these sexual situations, but their independent series itself implies some sort of sexual tension, whether that be through character interaction or just overall through the plot and setting of the story. While yes, the censoring is a lot more timid compared to other shows like Toraburu and Oniski, which if you ask me have just absolutely what the fuck levels of censoring that are just way too unnecessary. There are certain context clues that we can use with series like No Game No Life and the Monogatari series that make it justifiable as to how much censoring they're putting into each situation. In the case with No Game No Life, the addition of comedy through Sora's mishaps makes the scene a little less sexual, and instead uses its blatant sexuality for solely comedic purposes. If it was just Shiro and Steph taking a bath together without Sora in this situation, then yes, it would have been a straight up sexualized situation. It would have been a straight up fan service situation. But I would argue that with the addition of Sora, it not only just becomes a fan service scene, but it also becomes a comedic scene. And in the case with the Monogatari series, there are a few other reasons on top of the points I just talked about with No Game No Life that kind of make it so that yes, this level of censoring is actually correct. One such reason comes from the fact that I believe the Monogatari series satirizes the very genres it covers within its story, and thus is able to create a sexual situation that makes fun of sexual situations in anime. Not to mention that the series itself is such a dialogue-heavy series that even if you miss one line from any character, you're a little bit more lost in the story than you previously were. So even in this particular scene in the Nisei Monogatari series where Shinobu is taking a bath with Araragi, you're so focused on what each of these characters are saying since it is a pivotal point in the plot of the series up until that point, you almost forget that you're seeing this quote-unquote child character that is naked in a bath with a high school boy. I can even vouch this for myself. Like, fucking Shinobu is my waifu. I think everybody knows that, but in this particular scene, I was so invested in this story at that point that I actually completely ignored the fact that Shinobu was naked. I thought it was just like an added bonus. It wasn't the central focus of that scene, which is a big misconception when we see any kind of child character naked. Same rule applies for when you see the little sister naked in the Grave of the Fireflies. People don't look at that and be like, oh my god, there's a child character that's naked, because you're so focused on the story at that point and the terrible situation that these characters are in that you don't care that she's naked. You're so invested in that story that you don't realize the quote-unquote blatant sexuality that this anime is supposedly trying to show to you. And I mean, in the case with the Monogatari series, there's the added bonus of 1,000-year-old lolly doesn't count rule, which is this unspoken rule that has made it so that it's a little bit more justifiable to like child characters in anime. Thank God for that rule. I find a lot of better anime series out there tend to use this psychological censoring by using things like comedy or using things like satirization of genre to not physically blind us with this blasting light or fog or shadow that we see in a lot of anime that is shittily censored. It's a censor that's applied when you're so focused on a series and the series itself is focused on showing a certain other type of genre or certain other type of context that almost takes away from the fact that it is such fan service. I mean, I could go on all day about how stupid anime can get when it comes to its censoring, whether that be shining a blasting light in front of your eyes to blind the audience from the nipples that it's trying to show, or putting really unnatural images, or even just, you know, making the entire screen dark as fuck so you have to turn the brightness up to even see a fucking boob at all. But luckily I don't have to do that in this video because I've already done a video on it, links in the description. Now that I've unjumbled all this jargon into your face, let's go back to Made in Abyss. I would argue that in both examples where we see Diko's quote-unquote sexualized naked body, it actually has no such sexuality whatsoever based on its context. The first scene where Diko is hung up naked uses the psychological censor of comedy, since what you're seeing right now is the punchline of a joke. The fact that you heard Diko say she was scared of getting hung up naked again in the first couple of minutes of the first episode, only to then watch her get strung up naked, is supposed to be a referential joke to the first episode. By Diko saying, oh, what if the teacher strings me up naked again, paints this really absurd picture in your head like, what? Why would any such character in this anime do that to this young 12-year-old girl? Only to watch her do exactly what you thought was absurd is supposed to be like, okay, I wasn't expecting that, that's hilarious. Sure, it's not exactly the most pants-shittingly funny joke that we'll ever hear in anime. You're not supposed to ruffle on the ground from this joke, you're supposed to be like, oh, okay, so it did end up happening. Oh, okay, that's kind of weird and cute. Which I feel is a proper way to watch a show like Made in Abyss. It can be a serious adventure story that sometimes has some surprisingly dark moments, but it's also a very charming series that has some heartwarming comedic moments. And I feel this quote-unquote sexualizing children scene is supposed to be one of those heartwarming jokes. But what about this second scene where she's standing arms out with no shirt on in front of the main male character, Daegu? Well, it's true that in this particular scene there is no comedy and there is no satirization of genres. But at the same time, there is also no element in the context that is supposed to suggest sexuality of this character to the viewers. It's just a normal, serious scene that just happens to have Diko without a shirt on. That's it. I think a lot of kids and mostly a lot of parents seem to forget that just because there is a character that is naked on the screen, it doesn't automatically make it a piece of pornography. I can even argue with this particular scene with Diko having no shirt, no glasses, which you always see her wear, it reinforces this beautiful metaphor of freedom. She stepped foot into the unknown abyss for the first time and she's finally been released from the shackles of confinement from the school that she has been taught to not step into the abyss. Her wild appearance, I think, perfectly juxtaposes the wilderness of the abyss, which if you ask me is not pornographic at all, but rather just very good writing and directing. If anything, I don't get how anyone can interpret scenes like this as sexual. Like, I don't get how you can look at that and be like, that's porn. I mean, look, watch as I get these two images that parents have supposedly called pornographic anime and put a proper pixel censor over it. Or even if I shoot a blinding beam of light like every other shitty anime does. Or what if I put some darkness over it? Or maybe some completely irrelevant picture over it? Is it just me? Or does that look even more sexualized than without censoring? I think it's the same thing as the whole unspoken J-porn rule. A lot of people ask around like, hey, how come Japanese porn censors the genitals when American porn doesn't? Well, the reason they censor genitalia in Japanese porn is because it's a fetish. It looks more sexual because it's censored. You're not just, bam, seeing everything for what it is. Like, you can actually use your own sexualized mind to kind of fill in the gaps in however way you want. Don't ask me how that works, okay? I don't get it either. I just researched this shit. I just think the fact that a lot of people have estimated that the Japanese porn industry is actually worth more than the US porn industry is solid enough proof that, yeah, this fetish might be legit. So as you can probably see, there are times where, yes, it is appropriate to censor some anime, but at the same time, there is also some times where it's appropriate not to censor anime. I argue that by censoring such scenes in Made in Abyss will actually over-sexualize the characters and will make supposed people who look at 12-year-old anime characters in that light get ahead of themselves and just fill in the gaps for themselves. When in reality, it clearly deviates from the sole purpose of the series and the characters within it. Sexualizing young characters in Made in Abyss by censoring their nakedness will, if anything, take so much away from the anime. It's not just an excuse to show a young naked 12-year-old girl to the eyes of people who like anime. That's what hentai is for. Parents, listen to me when I say that anime is so much more smarter than that. It's okay to watch Made in Abyss with your children. There is no child pornography in it. It's fine. You were probably okay when Bart Simpson showed his tiny 10-year-old penis in the Simpsons movie, right? You didn't write any kind of angry letter to Matt Groening and being like, FBI, Matt Groening is a fucking pedo. And you didn't stop your children from watching The Simpsons because it supposedly promoted child pornography. It's basically the same thing with Made in Abyss. You're probably just really judging Made in Abyss and anime that does the exact same thing as what the Simpsons movie did because it's just a medium that you're not used to. It's not a medium that you grew up with, and it's probably not a medium that you fully understand because it's part of a different culture. And you know what? I get it. That's completely fine. You know, like, everyone makes mistakes, it's fine. That's what people like us are here for, to make sure, parents, that not all anime is fucking over-sexualized, alright? Sometimes it's actually appropriate. So basically what I'm trying to get at with this long-ass rant is that context is king. The reason why you probably see more teenage and adult nipples censored in anime is because there are more adults who are watching those kinds of characters in a more sexualized light because of the nature of the demographic of said show. Whereas with shows like Made in Abyss, yes, while being a seinen anime, which is technically supposed to be targeted more towards an older demographic, with the context of the show and just with the basic character designs looking like a kid's anime, it has this overtone that is a lot less sexualized and a lot more serious. It's the whole sexy anime girl versus the cute moe girl argument. You attack sexy anime girl and you protect moe anime girl. You protect Diko, you attack Momo. You protect Regu, you attack Lala. You protect Kiwi, and you take that shit home because she's adorable as fuck. But hopefully that cleans some things up for you, and feel free to show this video to your parents who are supposedly worried about child pornography. Hopefully I won't result in a bunch of parents writing me angry emails. Please don't do that, I have a sensitive heart. Let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think there are necessary times where you need to censor anime and there are times where it's a little bit too unnecessary? Do you think that my reasoning and my theories is correct? And if not, then what are your theories and thoughts on the opportune times of censoring and not censoring, whether that be in terms of Made in Abyss or any other series that censors or should censor? And do you think that context in an anime really matters when it comes to over-sexualizing characters, or could it be something else? I'm really interested to see what you guys think about that, so let me know all that kind of stuff in the comments below. And hey, if there are any other topics that you'd like me to talk about in future videos, then make sure to let me know on social media. Twitter is a really good place to do it. I pick a lot of great topics over on Twitter, so make sure to follow me on Twitter, all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, let's just hope YouTube doesn't demonetize this shit for whatever reason, because that'd be very ironic, and I would be very sad because I worked very hard on this video. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. As always, like your favorite if you enjoyed, subscribe for more anime banner, and I'll see you guys next video of whatever I make. Keep watching anime. Ciao ne!